Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you another video. All right. So, as a Laker fan, you guys, I'm having a hard time. I really am. I'm gonna tell you why. It's gonna sound very strange. I'm having a hard time because I'm having a very difficult time convincing myself to be afraid of the Denver Nuggets. Now, if you guys have been following me, you know that when I say I'm having a hard time and I'm disappointed or fearful, or whatever the words I want to choose to use to describe this feeling, it's real. Because I think in the past, when I felt this gung-ho about the Lakers doing anything, I was wrong. That's the reality of it. When I was gung-ho about the Orlando Magic and how the Orlando Magic wouldn't give us trouble with their length earlier in the season, or was that? Yeah, that was earlier this year. I was so concerned because I just felt like we didn't match up well against them. And I was not taking into account certain things in regards to how they would actually perform, just looking at the matchups themselves. And that's gotten me in trouble at times. It got me in trouble with this Miami Heat thing. Looking at the roster itself and not questioning whether or not they perform, the continuity they've had playing in the Eastern Conference Finals as much as they have. Seeing us in the bubble, keeping the same core. Then, of course, last year overachieving, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, keeping the same core. The bench is still the same, even though I don't really believe in them dudes like that. It doesn't matter. They're proving themselves one by one. Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, they're proving themselves to be real playoff performers, whether you believe in them as a unit or not. They just continue to prove me wrong. So what I'm telling you is the same gung-ho I felt about the Orlando Magic that day, the same gung-ho I felt about the Miami Heat earlier before the playoffs is the same way I feel about the Denver Nuggets right now, and I hate it because it fails me most of the time. And so what I'm telling you is our team has the DNA and the weakness of playing down to the level of the opponent when they believe that they have the strength to defeat a team or play with their food. It's a DNA thing. It's something we can't seem to overcome as a team. If they're viewing the Denver Nuggets like I'm viewing the Denver Nuggets, then they're probably going to have that problem. I'm hoping that they see something in the Denver Nuggets with their basketball IQs that the rest of the world sees, that everybody sees, that I just am blind to. And that is the idea that Jokic is going to be able to do any of that stuff that he normally does against our defense. I can't see it. I just can't see it. Every highlight I've watched of the Nuggets in the playoffs, and mind you, I've only rendered myself to the Nuggets in the playoffs. So what I would probably need to see more of is them in the regular season against greater talent during the meat and potatoes of their season, when they were really on their runs, when everybody had gotten fully healthy. I need to see those highlights of those games against bigger teams, how they do against Cleveland, how they do against Philly, how, when they went up against certain teams that have bigs, particularly multiple bigs with weak side help defenders. How did they fare against those teams? Because that's what I need to understand and see in order to properly fear the Denver Nuggets. Because as long as I'm watching them run around against the Phoenix Suns and the Minnesota Timberwolves, all I see is two defenses that didn't give them any trouble. I saw DeAndre Ayton playing off of Jokic easy. I saw them, the Minnesota Timberwolves, putting people like Karl Towns and Taurean Prince on him. I wasn't impressed by anything I saw defensively. Now, offensively, they run like a machine. They are a well-oiled machine, the Denver Nuggets. They pass the ball extremely well. As we've talked about, they really, really have good transition defensive principles. They obviously have 40-point shooters on either corner. They got key defensive guys who play two-way, ability. I really think the meat and potatoes of what it is they can truly attack us with is in KCP and Bruce Brown's defense and their ability to hit open shots on the other end. If they can stay out of foul trouble, I truly believe that is Denver's best strength against the LA Lakers. It's just what those two guards are going to be able to do on both sides of the floor throughout the course of a series, I think can really help the Denver Nuggets against us. Other than that, I'm listening to people talk about Aaron Gordon guarding LeBron James. You're going to have to show me he's capable of doing that. All I see in my mind's eye is LeBron James bullying through him, scoring on him, and one sit down. That's really all I see in my head. Someone's going to have to help me understand Even though I respect that Aaron Gordon is a very good defender and big and can help on the other side too, which is where I think his real strength is going to be in this series. If he can score over 25, 30 points, we're in trouble. But I don't expect him to do that. I expect him to hover under that because the other guys are going to score, particularly Murray, who's going to probably jack up 20 to 30 shots a night. My fear, if I have any fear about the Denver Nuggets, is just that for some reason or another we get shot down by Jamal Murray. But the only way I really see that being as much of a problem is if for some reason we start removing players like D'Angelo Russell, Dennis Schroeder, Austin Reeves. If we get in foul trouble and those guys aren't able to help us and we're rendered only to use certain players that we would rather not use, like Troy Brown or too much, or Malik Beasley too much, because that's when we really have trouble. Otherwise, if we run the way we're traditionally meant to run, don't do anything stupid like dumb it down too much or go on ridiculous scoring droughts that are unprecedented. And mind you, we're going up against a defense that's solid, but I don't believe they're better than Memphis defense at all. I don't think they're definitely not better than Golden State's defense. So this is what I'm telling you. One of the things that I mentioned a lot of times in these playoffs leading up to where we are was the level of difficulty, will determine two things. The difficulty that you've seen in regards to the teams that you just faced once you get to this point. If you've had an easy path, even if you mowed down that path and you played excellent ball, what's coming at you in the third round is going to be so much more higher in difficulty that the adjustment is going to be, it's going to be substantial. And what I'm telling you is Denver's greatest strength outside of what's on the court is their altitude. But they got to weigh that against the fact that they're playing a team in the Lakers that are going to be playing at like a 4 or 5 higher level difficulty than the Phoenix Suns gave them. And this is where my opinion separates from a lot of people as well, because I don't think a lot of people see it that way. I think a lot of people think the Phoenix Suns were a good team. I thought they were trash. I thought they were absolute garbage. With two amazing talents in Booker and KD, but neither one of them really defending like that at this stage in their careers. And nobody else on that team is really defending outside of Josh Okogie. And maybe Cam Payne or something like that, Biyombo. Those guys are role players, man. They're not going to be able to help them on the other side. And that's where the Lakers have success. Outside of Vanderbilt, we don't really have any defensive players that can't score. And if you're counting on Vanderbilt not being able to score, he might walk away with 10 points, even more. When he played for Utah and Minnesota, more. So I look at the pieces that we have that are going to be rendered to have to be on the floor in order to stop Jokic. And if we run the right ones, we're still going to be able to score as much as we want to against a defense that's really, really light. And not only that, but the Denver Nuggets are going to need the Lakers to overshoot. That's the problem. From possession to possession to possession, in my mind's eye, the way the Lakers are going to lose this series is overshooting with Denver and treating Denver like you shouldn't treat Golden State, which is trying to outshoot them. They got Murray, they got Porter, they got Bruce Brown. Those are high-level shooters. They got Jokic. These guys are going to shoot the three just as well as Golden State if you let them. You got to guard the perimeter with a level of respect that matches the Golden State idea. And then from there, you have got to put enough pressure on them on the other side to force them into fouling you, so they can stop having all that pretty stuff on the floor, and you can start exposing Najee and DeAndre Jordan and whoever else is on that bench that they don't want to play. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, everybody want to talk about how deep the Denver Nuggets is, but I know they got about 6 or 7 players they don't want to play at all in this series. They do not want to play these people. Now, if they have to play Reggie Jackson, I'm pretty sure they'll be pleased. They'll run him. DeAndre Jordan, they may give him some minutes, but I'm telling you, guys like Zeke Naji and Pierre Watson, they do not want them guys on the floor at all. You hear me? And throughout the course of a 7-game series, what we need to do is try to pull their layers back so we can start exposing these Najis and these Watsons and all these other dudes that they desperately don't want to play. That's how you beat the Denver Nuggets. It ain't got nothing to do with Jokic and Murray and Porter and Gordon and KCP and Brown. Those guys are good. If you have to see a heavy dose of them throughout the whole series, they're going to make this a long series. But if you find a way to get into the meat and potatoes at the back of that damn bench, you're going to find out that team doesn't have a very strong bench. You're going to find out that we're going to run through them dudes when we put our second and third units on the floor in very embarrassing ways. That's what I'm here to tell you. That's why I have a hard time fearing the Denver Nuggets, because I'm so cognizant of the fullness of a team, as to where we're taught as fans to only care about the top 5, top 7, top 8. And I'm telling you, you can have a great top 8, but at this stage in the playoffs, if those other guys ain't no good, all that tells me is that you've been leaning on the top 8 too much for too long, and you're going to start wearing down. And that's the difference between us and them, because we ain't had that problem. We've been running our guys pretty regularly, even though we've shrunk our bench a little more than I'd like to. All in all, we've had enough garbage times in the second round to where we got enough rest. Now, I could argue the Nuggets have too, because most of them games are blowouts. So that might not have as much of an impact on this series as I would like it to. But at the end of the day, with the strength of our team, I just know that foul trouble means something totally different to us if we rotate properly. Now, if we sub in improperly based off foul trouble and injury possibilities, and of course we're going to have a bad team, just like we do anytime we rotate poorly. And that is how we lose games, and we know that. But as far as us playing as if we want to win, and then proceeding to do things the way we know how to correctly, as I told you guys, is why I started the video. I don't see it. And I think I need to see it in order to not be completely and utterly disappointed if for some reason they run a bunch of great geometry or I got it wrong. And that team is really, really, really better than us. And my mind's eye is just not telling me what I need to see or something. I don't know. But I'm telling you, I don't see it. I really don't see it. What I see is a very soft defense coming up against us, and a very, very potent offense that is run by half of the team that runs that offense is role players. Like literally role players. KCP, all due respect, role player. We love him. He's our champ, but he's a role player, bro. He's going to get outclassed by some of our guys. A guy like D'Angelo Russell should win that matchup. Should. KCP's going to be disruptive, but at the end of the day, D'Angelo's a better player. Should be considered a better player. The only time I'll tell, a guy like Christian Braun is who concerns me, or Christian Brown. I guess his name is Brown, just like Bruce Brown. We got to respect him. Christian Braun is a very good defensive player. In fact, I read somewhere on IG, one of the Denver Nuggets fans, who know if they have credibility or not, we're just talking about a person talking, but they said that they were looking forward to Christian Braun matching up against LeBron. I didn't laugh at that, because I'm not going to do that not knowing how good Christian Braun can be on the defensive end, or actually how big he actually is. And when I have seen him play, he plays physical. In fact, he reminds me of a guy by the name of Matt Harpering back in the day with the Utah Jazz. Physical guy, football background, not overly talented, but two-way ability, very strong. If he can develop into something like that somewhere in this series, he can definitely be a problem. See, a thing about Matt Harpering is Matt Harpering would be a three-point shooter. He'd give you 30 from behind the arc on a really good night and defend. So that's kind of, that's not where Brown is. But I'm telling you that he's somebody that won't catch me off guard. Just like Moses Moody in the last series, just like I was trying to prepare us for Kenneth Lofton, even though he didn't play in the Memphis series. If he would have played, he would have gave us trouble. Christian Braun is the guy on this team. You circle him. You know that the world doesn't necessarily know who he is yet, but since you're preparing for this team, you do. And that's kind of how it has to be. If you have a healthy respect for the Denver Nuggets, you don't go far away from understanding that Christian Braun is coming off of that bench. He's looking to rebound. He's looking to be physical. He's looking to block shots. He's looking to draw fouls. He's looking to give punishment if possible. And I'm looking at a guy like Austin Reeves as somebody who's going to have to, throughout the course of 7 games, match his fire. And I'm not talking about the offensive end, because Austin is a player who's going to be able to do more for us on the offensive end than I expect Christian to do. But I'm talking about those crazy offensive rebounds that he be snatching out of nowhere, diving on the floor for loose balls, doing what he needs to do defensively to close out possessions. We're going to need Austin Reeves to step all the way up and step all the way out, because I look at this series, it's a series where he's going to have a little more wiggle room to do so. Now, granted, I say this understanding that Brown, and KCP are going to be on our guards. So, I hate to say this, but this could be another series where our guards could be potentially in a position to struggle. And for the rest of the playoffs, with the defensive players that are potentially going to come up against them with the teams that we're going to be seeing. You're just going to have defensive guards for the rest of the playoffs. If we're happy to get out of Denver, Miami and the Celtics have those defensive guards too. So it's going to be R. Schroeder, KCP, Austin Reeves, Beasley, Lonnie, and whoever else is ball handling. to understand that AD and Bron are going to likely be turning the ball over. So you can't. That's basically what it comes down to. When you're dealing with Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, and of course KCP, you got to understand that they're going to look to force some turnovers. So it's not the end of the world if we do turn the ball over. But we cannot sustain the unforced ones necessarily against a team who's going to stop us in transition defensively a lot more than Memphis did and Golden State did based on their personnel. Those same personnel. They're going to get back, and they're going to force you into the half court more than we want to. So we're going to have to be ready to make good half court plays, and that's going to be the story. If our half court offense is bad in this series, it most definitely favors Denver in a very, very serious way. We have got to get out in transition and be successful. And then from there, when they're successful stopping us, we got to make something out of those half-court plays. More motion, body movement, player movement. We cannot let this defensive off the hook because they're going to convert offensively. Even though we have a very good defense throughout the course of the series, as they get a look at us, they can get better at dealing with our disruption on the defensive side. So we have to continue to keep our offense flowing and respect the fact that if we play beyond what we believe is necessary, we will meet the intensity of the moment. Because at the end of the day, the only way to lose to the Denver Nuggets, in my humble opinion, is to view them as if you can't lose to them like I struggled with to start this video. And we know that a team can beat you just off of sheer will and desire at this stage in the game. This time of year, you ain't gotta be better than another guy to beat the other guy. You just have to want it more, have to be more focused, and have to make better decisions on the basketball court. And so that's what it comes down to. We're going up against Mike Malone. He's a pretty solid coach. I don't think he's bad in any way that I've seen. He's done some things over the years that made me think he isn't the greatest coach in the league, but that doesn't mean he's too far off from that. He's definitely top 10 in my mind. So we're going to see some good adjustments. We're going to see him try some things that maybe we don't expect. And look, Thomas Bryant is on the back of that bench. He's a motivator for their team in regards to going up against us. KCP, same things. He's an ex-Lakers who would love to beat us in this series en route to a championship situation. So we need to understand why not only Thomas Bryant is on that team, but why they wanted him. Thomas Bryant's on that team because he didn't get the minutes that he felt he should get on this team as the center. We thought he was fantastic offensively, but defensively we understood that not playing him probably was best for our defense. But he had some fantastic games earlier in the season, and they kind of got disregarded by not having him play regularly. Now he plays for the Denver Nuggets. One of the reasons why I think the Denver Nuggets wanted him is because he balled out against them in one of the matchups that we had earlier this year. One of the reasons why we beat the Denver Nuggets with Jokic on the floor. I don't think Murray was on the floor. I don't remember seeing Porter either. But with Jokic on the floor, it's because he went completely nuts in the fourth quarter. So they know what he can do is essentially what I'm saying to you. They ain't using him, but they know he can hurt us in this series, run up a bunch of points while Jokic is sitting down if he's having an inspired moment. Very, very efficient scorer. We know our guy. We drafted him and we brought him back this year and had him for the first half of the season. And he played some really, really good games. Had 31 points, 9 rebounds in a game where he only missed one shot or something like that. I mean, this is a real player. And so I expect for game 5 or something like that to be a Thomas Bryant game. And we need to be looking for him whenever he's checked in the game to see if we can attack him, score on him, and force him to put Jokic back on the floor. Because that's what we can do. We know he's a layup line. We know that. That's why we got rid of him. So anytime he's on the floor, you just drive at the rim and test him to see if he's going to block some shots. He may. But you got to understand that that's not his game. You know, and anybody that saw him earlier in the season knows that. So I don't suspect he's going to get much playing time, but given the fact that we are a big team and they do have DeAndre Jordan as the backup for Jokic and he is a little older, I think somewhere throughout the course of this series, it will be wise to check him in if you're Mike Malone. So I don't know. But we're not Phoenix. We're not running at you with 2 players, and that's another thing. Phoenix has some solid defensive players we already mentioned, but they ain't had no Anthony Davis down there. As long as Anthony Davis is fresh and healthy throughout the course of this series, I think we got a very, very solid chance of disrupting their entire offense from quarter to quarter to quarter. All that pretty stuff that they do, it just ain't going to get done if we match up properly and do what it is we're supposed to do. All this talking about pulling AD out of the paint or so that Jokic can kind of pass into the paint to defend, the answer to that, in my humble opinion, is respecting that Anthony Davis is going to need a weak side help defender in this series, so we're going to have to forego something on the offensive end in order to make that happen. Now, Rui Hachimura has been blocking shots on the weak side ferociously since we've asked him to do so. He even did so in the last game. Excellent work. As long as he can keep that up, he's a viable option. Especially with Anthony Davis on the floor, I don't think I have too much of a problem with playing Rui at the 4 right now with AD down there. It's just turned into something that I can trust a little more. I think Rui Hachimura and Aaron Gordon are comparable in regards to size, and I think Rui Hachimura, Gordon may be able to defend him pretty well, to be honest with you, but I also think Rui Hachimura is going to get the best of Gordon in a lot of those situations too, especially if we keep the dribbling to a minimum. So I don't mind seeing Rui at the 4 in this series, so long as that's Bamba or AD at the center spot. To provide the weak side length help that we would otherwise need. It's going to be a lot of situations where we're going to want to go 4 guard with this team because they have a small team, just like Golden State did. And they're going to be their best when they have guys like Jeff Green playing the floor 4, Gordon playing the 4. That's kind of what I expect to see a lot of the time. So in the event that happens, we're going to be putting Rui on the floor. We're going to be putting Troy Brown in situations at the 4. I think we're probably going to run Vanderbilt at the 4 in situations like that because we can get away with it based on the personnel they have. I hope he doesn't want to put Lonnie at the 4. I hope he doesn't want to put D'Lo at the 3, but we're going to see that a lot, I'm sure. D'Lo at the 3, Schroeder at the 2, Lonnie at the 1. Those lineups hurt us, man. And against this Denver Nugget team, that is a bad defensive lineup. Hear me again. Dennis Schroeder, Lonnie Walker, and D'Angelo Russell. If we're going to do 3-yard lineups, let it not be those trio. Let it not be that trio. Lonnie and Schroeder should never be on the floor together unless that viable third person is LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, somebody extremely defensive, man. We got Vanderbilt. That's the only way I want to see them 2 on the floor together. Other than that, especially if that third forward is going to be a guard, please don't. Please don't. Lonnie and Schroeder, it's just too bad defensively. It's bad defensively. Beasley, Schroeder, Beasley, Lonnie, Schroeder, Beasley, all that. All those 3-guard lineups, they're just not good enough defensively, in my humble opinion, to make it make any sense 9 out of 10 times when we do it. The only time it really worked was in Game 6 at the beginning of the game because Anthony Davis and LeBron James were taking the ball into their own hands, negating all that 3-guard lineup crap, and then just going into the paint and bullying those guys and letting those 3 guards just sit out there and try to rebound around them. Or catch shots if necessary, rather than have them actually handling the ball. They're more so a decoy. That might be the way to go in those 3-guard lineups so that you don't expose so much of what's going on with that. But even on the other side, that's really where it hurts you, not offensively. It's on the defensive end when there's a layup line and you don't have nothing down there to guard from the point of attack. They're just dribbling right off, taking us off the dribble, laying the ball up. Please, please, please do away with those lineups and we will have a much greater chance of getting out of this series sooner. But if we audible into those lineups regularly, those will be the moments when the Denver Nuggets will take their lead. It's what it's been all season. We know this, man. So let's stay away from 3-guard lineups, if at all possible, particularly when our front court doesn't have any rim protection. So that's what's on my mind. Jokic is going to bang. He's built to bang. He's built to be physical. He's going to try to back the ball down a lot. He's very, very, very intelligent, to say the very least. He's a scientist. He's a pool player out there without a pool stick, looking to get the ball to every corner and every bounce pass, every deflection is going to be necessary. So just understand he's trying to get the ball somewhere else. We've talked about this a lot, but he can score with the best of them, obviously, but he had to teach himself how to be more of a scoring person. He had to teach himself to be more aggressive. But he did, so we need to respect that. This ain't the same Jokic from 2020. He's not bashful scoring the ball. That Jokic was a bit bashful. That Jokic wasn't in good shape. That Jokic wasn't 2-3 years later where he's gotten a lot better at his game. So we need to respect that Jokic is going to overall read the floor better and make good decisions. But that's the thing. It's like, how afraid of him should I be? If he goes for 15, 15, and 15, that's like 80 points. Right? Roughly like 80 points of scoring that he accounts for. But if we do what we're supposed to do against those other guys, they only have scored probably about 110 points. That ain't going to be enough to beat us. You feel what I'm saying? Jokic goes for his super line. Murray goes for whatever the assist would be to make the 30 points come up from the 50 that he gave you. That's 80. They get a couple more assists from other guys. They don't get enough contributions from night to night to really score enough with us in my mind, given the fact that they don't defend well enough from possession to possession. Now, if they up their defense to match what it is that they're supposed to do, maybe they can keep us from scoring as many points as necessary. But for them, it's about, can we outscore the Lakers? And for the Lakers, it's, we can do both. We're looking to not only stop you, but we're also looking to run the score up. So the styles, in my humble opinion, it's going to be just favoring the Lakers in general, because we play both sides of the ball, and in theory, they only play one. Now, granted, they have defensive strength, and we already talked about those. And Jokic is a pretty good defensive reading player. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to keep himself in the way. But I just don't see no way for them to stop us from getting layups. At the end of the day, we're a team that wants to attack you in the paint. We want to attack. Lay. Shoot the three wherever we can, but we're happy when we shoot only 27 of them. If we hit 6 out of 27, we really don't care, like literally. Which means that all the other times we're laying the ball up. So if your weakness is to allow us to do that, you're playing in our hands. And then it just becomes, again, how well can your defense go up against our offense? And my thing is, how well can your offense go against our defense is what I'm saying. How well can we defend you? And I think through the 8 or 9, whatever footage of playoff games, how many games they play? There was a game 6 in the first one, game 6, so like 12, whatever games they played, Phoenix and Timberwolves, I just don't see anything that the Timberwolves simulated that can help them see what it is that's coming at them with us. They didn't have no defensive players. They didn't have Anthony Davis in the way, making effective deflective reads, keeping him from making those passes that he loves to make. And for me, it's like I've seen AD against Jokic enough over the years to know that Jokic does not want to deal with a healthy AD. AD wasn't even healthy in the game that I'm referring to. You know what I'm saying? That's what he was hobbling and kind of tiptoeing over his body in that game when we beat them early in the year. This is not the AD they're running into. This is an AD who just got through guarding Steph Curry on the perimeter to close out 2 possessions in Game 5. Like, Jokic hasn't seen a defender like this all season. Jokic has always struggled with this particular defender in previous seasons. And so I have no reason, 0 reason to believe that is going to change. Because even though Joker's getting better, so is AD. And we know AD is just as good as Joker in different ways. We know this. I don't think that's even up for debate for anybody who's seen these playoff games. He is as good as Joker. It's just a matter of what. Joker is a phenomenal floor general. Joker is one of the greatest passers and orchestrators the game has ever seen. But that's just a few aspects of the game. He's an amazing rebounder. He's an amazing shooter. Like, these are aspects. That ain't defense, bro. That don't tell me the story of how the hell he's going to overcome Anthony Davis. And look, this is what also works against me in regards to seeing Joker. How he runs, bro. His trot. He has no athleticism at all. So what I see is a guy who has a lot of length and athleticism being able to stifle him with the ability to just be just as quick as him. Joker be doing these little trots, like he be jogging up the floor like he's in pain. He's barely getting around. That type of mobility against Anthony Davis? Nah, you don't have enough range of motion to do what it is you do against somebody who's athletic and as smart as Anthony and as long and as nimble as Anthony. That's the problem. As long as we're keeping Anthony on Jokic, even if Jokic is pulling Anthony away from the paint and keeping himself at the perimeter, Joker's going to have to understand that a lot of those passes that he's going to try to get to the paint are going to be read. It's not as simple as, okay, we pull him away, now we can get those passes in. He ain't getting those passes over Anthony Davis' stretch arms and his swinging in and all of this stuff. I've seen Anthony Davis do this all season long. He's going to read your passes probably 50% of the time. Probably 50% of the time, he's looking to properly deflect what it is you're doing. So if Jokic is barely moving, he barely running the floor, and he likes to trot into the half court, and 9 out of 10 times he has somebody over him that comes up to his neck so he can see over him. None of that's going to be the case. And mind you, if we're doing what we're supposed to do in this series, Vanderbilt's going to be very much part of what we're doing. And if that's the case, he's going to be roaming defensively. So while AD's in front of you, Vando's out there watching you. And those who watch the Lakers know Vanderbilt has a very special gift for the defensive end, especially on the perimeter, especially when it comes to stuff like this. He's different, very different. And so I think his deflections, rebounding, offensive rebounding, all that's going to be very, very difficult for the Denver Nuggets to deal with. And to be honest with you, I don't know if they have that piece on their side. The Vanderbilt, they don't have no Vanderbilts. They're asking Bruce Brown, KCP, Aaron Gordon to all be a combination of that for them. So it's like, nah, the matchups don't work, man. When you start looking at the Rui Hachimura versus Jeff Green matchup, that's a joke, fam. I hate to tell people that's a joke. With all due respect to Jeff Green, I know that's LeBron's boy. They didn't been through the trenches, but that's a joke. Rui gonna kill him. He gonna outclass that boy something terrible. So these are the things I'm looking at. DeAndre Jordan, you start looking at who we got, Wenyen Gabriel. You know, the combination of Wenyen Gabriel, Tristan Thompson, it's just like, okay, we're bringing size, man. If they're not willing to trade Thomas Bryant, if they're not willing to play DeAndre Jordan, and they only got Jokic out there trying to go for 48 minutes against us, no, that's not. No. That's what I'm telling people, like, I didn't just wake up this morning feeling blindly and mindlessly cocky about going into this series. No, it's quite the contrary. I'm fighting that with everything in my heart. I'm asking anybody to help me fear the Nuggets, because I'm desperately afraid of my cockiness against this team, because what I see is nothing but food. I see food everywhere. I see easy defense to overcome, layups and open shots for us, except for on the perimeter to a degree and transition to a degree with KCP, Bruce Brown, and Christian Brown. I respect those guys. Those are the defensive guys. Those are the guys that give me trouble on the defensive end. Everywhere else, I don't see no trouble. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. Gordon, too. Put Gordon in there. That's 4 people. That's it. 4 people playing defense, baby. That's it. What the hell is that going to do against the Lakers? What the hell is that going to do? Well, we got like 3 players that need to be double teamed that didn't give me a moment. I mean, help me understand this. I know Jokic is a phenomenally efficient player, which means from possession to possession to possession to possession, he may be efficient in getting points no matter what. Scoring 3 levels, getting the ball to somebody else. You're going to have to close out possessions offensively to match his efficiency every possession. But what I'm telling you is, if he ain't defending, how is that going to be hard for us? That's where I need somebody to just drill into my head. If I'm supposed to be afraid of connecting on every possession against him because he's so efficient on the other end, where's the resistance to stop me from doing it? And mind you, you're talking in theory about him being able to run his offense freely against us, when I'm telling you, all of his competition ain't playing no damn defense in these playoffs. So I'm supposed to mindly think that he's supposed to do what he does against our defense while understanding that he ain't going to stop us? And I'm supposed to convince myself he's going to beat us in a 7-game series. I can't do it. I'm having a hard time, man. I'm having a hard time. Even with the altitude. Why? Because we've reacted well to altitude. Although D'Angelo Russell ain't on this team, you replace him with Russell. D'Lo is now here. Russell Westbrook's now gone. I think a great deal of why we didn't have any trouble with altitude is because we had that specimen on the team running like a speed demon in Denver. And I don't think D'Angelo Russell is that kind of guy. He's going to be affected by the altitude. Guys like Malik Beasley played for the team, maybe not. But the point is, it's a different squad. We haven't played in altitude very much except for Utah. It's a little different, I guess, maybe not. But point is, I don't know that we have that same ability to just look great in altitude like we did the first half of the season with guys like Patrick Beverley and LeBron James and Russell Westbrook kind of just not ever getting tired. We have younger guys though now, so that in theory should translate just fine, but you will have to see it, you know what I mean? But these are the things that concern me about this series. Altitude, not taking them seriously, injuries, you know what I'm saying? It's not the intricacy and the complexities and the brilliance of Nikola Jokic, because at the end of the day, as brilliant as he is, he ain't going to be able to do enough. Not if what I see is clear. He ain't going to be able to do enough. Jamal Murray and Porter need to basically average 30 in this series. And he's going to have to average 40 or something like that in order to score enough with us if they're not going to defend. You know what I mean? In order to score enough with us if we're not going to defend. Because at the end of the day, you know what I see? Bron easy buckets. LeBron James easy buckets. He's going to lay the ball up over these dudes. And who's stopping him? Who's stopping Bron? Only person stopping Bron is Bron by shooting a bunch of bad, low percentage 3-point shots and mid-range jumpers that are going to carry him off the rim. But if he commits to driving with the pain in the foot, if he commits to driving, the driving kick game is going to be crazy. Kicking out to Austin Reeves, that he's going to draw so much pressure because they're not that great a defensive team. He's going to draw pressure. So it's like Gordon, foul trouble. Jokic, foul trouble. KCP, foul trouble. Michael Porter, he's going to have to play some defense. I don't know if Michael Porter has learned how to play defense on this team or not. Obviously, his back is healed up. He's good. Fantastic offensive talent. Only going to get better as the series progresses. Be very careful with him, just like you were with Desmond Bane. But here's the thing. Who the hell is he guarding? Who is he guarding? He's a big forward. But if he's as deficient as he's been in the past defensively, it's a layup line around this dude. So, like, this is another situation where you're sitting here saying, all right, they're going to have to get good team defensive play out of him and Jokic. You can't have both of them on the floor at the same time for too long against the Lakers not playing no damn defense. Jokic and Porter must play defense. And then we look at Jamal Murray. I'm going to tell y'all the truth. I don't remember if Jamal Murray's a very good defender. I don't remember. That's another variable. If he's really, really good defensively, if he could be disruptive to D'Lo and Schroeder, if he could really, really help on that side of the ball, it'll go a long way in Denver's chances of beating us. But in my mind, I have him penciled in as a non-defensive player. If anything, somebody like Steph Curry, who's going to get all of his junk on the offensive end and try to get you in foul trouble as his best defense. Otherwise, they're probably either hiding him or we're going after him. If that is the case, and Jamal Murray is a little person that we can shoot over that doesn't play defense, that's another non-defensive player on the floor with Jokic and Porter for a good 40 minutes of play. This works when you're going up against the Phoenix Suns, who have players like Biyombo and Okogie who are not scoring the ball very much. This works against the Minnesota Timberwolves when you're dealing with Torrey and Prince and players like that who, Rudy Gobert, who ain't scoring the ball very much. But against this Los Angeles Lakers team that has so many offensive options that can go for 20 or 30 points on you. You're talking about Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Dennis Schroeder, Rui Hachimura. These guys are scoring the ball, man. So while I look at Porter, Murray, Jokic, and Gordon, possibly KCP if he's having a really good night, and Brown saying the same thing, I'm saying the same thing. In other words, at the very worst, they match up. At the very worst, our guys match their guys. So it's like, where is their Bron? Where is their Rui? Where is their Vanderbilt? They don't have these people. They don't. You know why? Because the reality is they don't have a Max Christie. They don't have a Lonnie Walker. They don't have a Mo Bamba. They don't have a Troy Brown. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what it is. It's like they have those other pieces, but when it comes down to those pieces that's supposed to help those other pieces, they do not have them. They're wrapped up in players that shouldn't be on the roster at all. Some shouldn't even be in the league, DeAndre Jordan. So let's just be real, y'all. This Denver team is going to have to play 8 guys to beat us. And those 8 guys are undersized. So they had better run some ferocious geometry. Way better than what Steph and Clay, 4-time NBA champions, just ran against us. They're going to have to be phenomenal defensively with personnel that's not going to be manifesting anytime soon. And most importantly, they're going to have to get us in foul trouble and keep us in foul trouble to keep AD off the floor. And if they keep AD off the floor, they're in a much better shape to beat us because then Jokic can do whatever he wants to do. And it's just about him outclassing the rest of us. And Bron doing what he needs to do to try to match that, which at this point in the game, you do not want to ask Brown to do. So we got to keep Anthony Davis out of foul trouble, healthy and fresh for all 7 games if this goes that far. Because if for any reason we drop the ball with Anthony Davis in any of those areas, we're giving Denver the series, in my opinion. This is not a series that Anthony Davis can take games off, series off, any of that. We need him on the floor. And we also need to understand that keeping him on the floor could wear him down, so we got a balance there. But that's it, man. Catch and shoot, catch and shoot, catch and shoot, catch and shoot. That's all they're going to do is catch and shoot. Jokic pass to the shooters. So stay home on the shooters. Stay home on the shooters. If you need to know what you need to do, stay home on the shooters. Stay home on KCP, stay home on Jokic, stay home on Murray. Stay home on Porter. Period. And let Jokic do whatever else he's going to do. If he's going to shoot 9 and 10 threes on the night, do it 4 times. Do it 4 times. That's my thing. But what you're not going to do is play pool doing all that little stuff you love to do. You turned yourself into a scorer. You can score 55 points a night. That's probably what you're going to have to do to beat me. That's what Joker's going to do to beat me. He ain't getting 15, 14 assists on us. That's not happening. Not if I'm running things. He's going to be a scorer all series long. So that's really what it is. You're going to be a scorer, and you're going to be scoring on Anthony Davis. Good luck. That's how I feel about that. So I'm ready to get this series on. I am happy we're getting the rest, though. This is Monday, so the game starts tomorrow, Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. So we still get a whole day's rest. Our guys got on the plane yesterday, so they should be in Denver today getting set up. I would have loved for them to get to Denver 2 nights ago, but, guys gotta live their lives. Not everything is about basketball schedule and stuff. Guys got a whole families and all kinds of stuff to consider. Going up to Denver directly after the series might have been a little more than probably what was good. But at the end of the day, as a competitor, understanding how serious altitude is, the sooner we get down there was probably the better. But we're there now, and hopefully our guys are getting even more rest and getting a practice up there as well. At the end of the day, we want to respect the Denver Nuggets. It depends on how you view them. If you view them as a team that can destroy the Lakers, you want to put them in you want to go in saying that you have a healthy respect for the Denver Nuggets. If you're like me and you see a very glaring mismatch there in your favor, you want to convince yourself to respect the Denver Nuggets. Because what I think is that my mentality going into this series could get me beaten. That's why I fear it so much. It's not because I respect the disrespect I send to the Denver Nuggets. It's because I do not. It's because I know it's the type of stuff that losers are made of. I know it's the type of stuff that gets you in positions to be down 3-1. Because you saw all these different holes and they closed them. You know what I mean? Because you saw all these different mismatches and they just didn't manifest. Because you were assuming AD was going to play well and all this and he just didn't. So what I'm telling you is this. Yes, I believe we have the better roster. Yes, I see all this in my mind's eye. And no, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, you got to go out there and play the game. You got to play the game. So if we go out there with the right amount of respect for ourselves and the opponent, not considering the fact that Golden State was a team that was probably better than them, we just beat them. But more so the fact that they are their own entity with a lot of respect around the league. It's the number 1 overall seed all season long, and that wasn't for a fluke. Even though they didn't have to deal with us, doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't deal with the field and destroy it. Now, I personally think if we would have had this roster all season long, we would have done the same thing. We would have been the number 1 overall seed. In my opinion, we're a better team than Denver, and I stand on that. However, they were able to prove it. And they have the continuity and the past history of being together that we don't have that could be the determining factor in this series. So we got to respect that. They've been together. They know each other. They got each other on a string. They know where each other's supposed to be 10 minutes before they get there because these plays been run 100 times. We don't have that. And that's the difference in this series that works in Denver's favor is that continuity and that togetherness, and they know each other. So that's what we got to do. We got to continue to play well, be on a string. Don't second guess one another. Don't get hung up on a bad play. Don't get caught up in the refs in the back and forth. You have got to understand that staying focused against a team that knows one another better than you is the only way you're going to be able to simulate the focus that they're providing. That continuity they're providing is going to be you staying intent on doing it for your teammate and doing it for your coach, because at the end of the day, they know one another better than you. So that is it. That's the key to the thought there. So that's what I got to say, man. Go Lakers, go Lakers, go Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, baby. Western Conference Finals against a team that is very dangerous, specifically to me, because of my lack of fear for them. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching.